Hello, I'm Anna Cabrera, and we began this hour with a bombshell revelation about who else was inside that meeting room as President Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., and top aides attempted to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. It wasn't just the Russian lawyer in this room with them. The Associated Press is now reporting a former Soviet counterintelligence officer was also there. The controversial meeting taking place at Trump Tower in June of last year, just days after then-candidate Donald Trump clinched the GOP nomination. Also present, Jared Kushner and then campaign chairman Paul Manafort. And a reminder here, this revelation comes just 2 days after Don Jr. himself declared complete transparency and that there was nothing else to see here. Watch.
So as far as you know, as far as this incident is concerned, this is all of it.
This is everything. This is everything.
I want to bring in Shimon Prokupet, CNN's crime and justice reporter. What more are you learning, Shimon?
Yeah, that's right. So, Anna, today we learned not only was in the meeting was Bob Goldston and then this lawyer who we've all been reporting on. We've also learned that there were others, right? There was this translator was in this meeting, and then a representative from the Agarloff family, which is connected to Rob Goldstone, and it's believed it's this family that sort of started setting up this meeting, claiming that someone may have information regarding the Hillary Clinton campaign. The Associated Press then later this morning reported that they spoke to Rinat, this lobbyist this Russian-American lobbyist who lives here in Washington, D.C., is well known to lawmakers, he's well known to journalists here in Washington, D.C., and he's done some work on behalf of Russians, those seeking to overturn some sanctions, in particular to the Magnitsky Act, which, as we have been reporting, is directly connected to a lawyer, this woman from Russia, who met with the Trump family. All this obviously bringing lots of questions about why didn't Donald Trump Jr., why didn't Kushner reveal these other people who were in this meeting on him?
All right, Shimon Prokupet, we'll know you are continuing to dig, and we'll bring you back as you get more information. I want to bring in our panel for now. Asha Rangappa, the CNN legal analyst, national security analyst as well, former FBI special agent and now associate dean at Yale Law School. And joining her is John Rizzo, former general counsel to the CIA. He's also the author of Company Man, a book about his 34 years at the agency. Asha, this breaking news, CNN reporting more people in that room than had been previously disclosed, including Rinat Akhmetshin, a Russian-American lobbyist with apparent ties to Russian intelligence. Your reaction?
Yes, Anna, this is the case of the multiplying Russians. What this tells me, so that somebody might have been at that meeting that has an intelligence and specifically a counterintelligence background, is that even the Russians expected that Don Jr. might have called the FBI. This is someone who would have been there to potentially spot FBI surveillance, be able to check, for any technical equipment there. So I think that the Russians, if someone with an intelligence background was there, they believe this to be an intelligence operation. And I also think that that also raises the possibility and even the probability that that entire meeting may have been recorded and may potentially be in the hands of the government of Russia, which makes the shifting stories and different accounts even more problematic, because it could potentially offer a way for the Russian government to hold this over their heads.
Makes you wonder if there's another shoe that's going to drop in that regard.
That's right.
John, they still haven't been totally transparent about this meeting, as we're learning more people who were there that weren't previously disclosed. What could this mean legally?
Well, I mean, first of all, with respect to Mr. Kushner's current top secret security clearance, when you apply for one of these clearances, and I dealt with these issues for 3 decades at CIA, and one of the things the government, the security folks insist upon is you'd be totally forthcoming and complete with any foreign contacts you have recently had, and let alone contacts with Russians, let alone contacts with Russian intelligence officers. So, I must say, Anna, this every new morsel here, I mean, this is uncharted waters in my experience. I mean, it's getting into another dimension almost.
Asha, CNN is also reporting that the White House aides, close aides to the White House, were working behind the scenes since late June to craft a response to this Don Jr. meeting and the subsequent email release. In doing so, did these aides now open themselves up to scrutiny by the special counsel?
Possibly. I mean, I think everyone now is going to be questioned, and they're going to find out who knew what kind of conversations were had. I mean, this is not just limited to Don Jr.'s meeting. This is going to apply to the firing of Comey. All of these things are becoming interconnected. And, you know, I think at this point, these have become legal issues that each of these individuals should be consulting with their own attorney about, because all of these official statements that are coming out that end up being untrue, just, it complicates each individual's own legal situation, in my opinion. So I would just say that no comment at this point would probably be the best course of action for everyone involved, particularly the principals, and stop tweeting.
Hey, John, about these changing statements, White House aides, they're government employees. They're not supposed to be involved in the president's personal business. That's the whole reason he hired Mark Kasowitz as his personal attorney on the Russia matter. Our reporting says that the time this story broke, Kasowitz wasn't even traveling with the president. He was largely uninvolved. What's your reaction?
Well, I mean, this is something that the president's personal lawyer, and for that matter, Mr. Trump Jr. and Mr. Kushner, sure, that's what they have private lawyers for, to represent them in these things and advise them. Again, just from what I'm hearing, it just seems exceedingly irregular for White House officials and not their personal lawyers to be taking the lead and crafting the responses for these people.
And on top of it, the New York Times is reporting that President Trump signed off on that first Trump Jr. statement about the meeting. We now know that statement wasn't 100% accurate. Could that have legal implications for the president, Asha?
Well, we have a pattern now of the president, of things coming to light that are untrue that the president has signed off on. But yes, especially in this case, because this is the first time that there is a concrete direct link between people close to the campaign and to Russian intelligence, what he knew and when he knew it becomes very critical. And if there was an attempt to potentially cover up or say something untrue or contrary to what he knew, that is very problematic, because again, it points to potential deception at the highest levels of the government. So at this point, there needs to, again, from a legal perspective, I would think that there would be a bigger firewall between even the president and his son to try to keep those lines completely separate and not embroil him. But I've been perplexed by some of the legal moves that have been made in this administration to date, so I guess I can't be really surprised.
This is some other new reporting from CNN, John. According to a person who's close to Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, one of his top aides, when he learned of this newly discovered email in mid-June, he told his lawyers he was going to sit down with the president and discuss the meeting and the email that had been discovered. Of course, the big questions remain, did he do this, and what did he tell the president?
Yes, well, certainly that's the question, Anna. I mean, you know, the circumstance is so unique. This is not just a president and one of his aides. I mean, this is his son-in-law. You know, there's that familial bond and complication here. So, honestly, I don't know at this point what to make of it. It is just so unprecedented and surreal to be in these circumstances.
All right, got to leave it there. John Rizzo, Asha Rangappa, thanks for your analysis and insight. Now, this Russian-American lobbyist, the latest name that has emerged in this story, who was apparently at that meeting, his name is Rinat Akhmetshin, has confirmed to the Associated Press that he was indeed inside this meeting. But why? Let's bring in Natasha Bertrand, breaking news editor at Business Insider. Natasha, I know you've been doing some digging. What do you know about this man?
So Rinat came to the United States in 1994. His ties to Russian military intelligence are still a little bit murky. He was a member of the GRU, which is Russia's military intelligence arm in Afghanistan in the late 1980s. And then he came over to the U.S. and he started working as a political lobbyist. And his work has actually been extremely effective for all intents and purposes. He's known as a very smooth political operator. He's been here for almost 2 decades now, and he actually became an American citizen in 2009. He denies having any ties currently to any Russian spy agencies, which is important to note, and there is no evidence that he still does.
But that being said, he was on the radar, apparently, of U.S. lawmakers at the very least. We're learning that Senator Chuck Grassley had sent a letter back in April to the DOJ flagging this man. What more do you know about this?
Yeah, so Chuck Grassley wanted to know whether or not he had registered as a foreign agent for his lobbying activities and for his lobbying work over the past 2 decades that seemed to be very much aligned with Russian interests. He's been a lobbyist mostly for interests aligned with the post-Soviet states, not necessarily exactly for Russia in and of itself. But then last year he got involved with this Russian lawyer whose name is Natalia Veselnitskaya, who of course met with Donald Trump Jr. last June at Trump Tower, and actually she hired him to lobby to repeal the Magnitsky Act.
All right, Natasha Bertrand, thanks so much. That gives us a little bit more color into who this new individual is who's emerged onto the scene.